Welcome back. You've officially made it to part 4 of this thrilling story. If you haven't watched part 1, part 2, or part 3 yet, don't worry. All the links are waiting for you in the description. Check them out first, then come right back. Things are about to get even crazier. Dive in. Around me. Maybe it is. I fell asleep like that, held in the arms of a dangerous man who'd somehow become my safe place, who'd promised protection and meant it, who'd upended my life and made me feel more alive than I had in years. When I woke, sunlight was streaming through the windows and I was alone in bed. For a moment, I panicked, thinking maybe I dreamed the whole thing. Maybe Dante had left or realized what a complication I was and decided it wasn't worth it. Then I heard voices in the other room, low and urgent, speaking rapid Italian. I got up, pulling on the robe I'd borrowed from Dante, and padded barefoot to the living room. Dante was there with 2 men I recognized from his security team. They were looking at something on a laptop, expression serious. "What's happening?" I asked. All 3 men turned, and I saw Dante's expression shift from cold calculation to warm concern when he saw me. "You should be sleeping," he said, crossing to me. "What's wrong?" I insisted. "Don't shut me out, Dante. If this is about me, I deserve to know." He studied me for a moment, then nodded. "Show her." One of the men turned the laptop so I could see the screen. It was a photograph, grainy like it had been taken from security footage. 2 men, one of whom I recognized immediately despite the poor quality. "Marcus, your ex," Dante said, "meeting with Victor Koff 2 nights ago at a restaurant in Brighton Beach. Judging from the body language, they're not strangers." I stared at the photo, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Marcus knows the Russian mob. Apparently, Dante's voice was carefully controlled, which puts a different spin on things. Your break-in, the listening devices, the warning. It might not be about mob politics at all. It might be about your ex-boyfriend trying to scare you away from me. But why would Marcus have connections to the Kossops? "That's what we're trying to find out," Dante said. "But if I had to guess, financial trouble. Men like Marcus from old money families. Sometimes they make bad investments, get in over their heads, and look for alternative financing sources. The Klohoffs are always happy to loan money to people with social connections at very high interest rates. So Marcus owes them money possibly, or he's trying to gain their favor for some reason. Either way, he's brought you into something dangerous and he knows it. Those texts warning you about me, projecting his own guilt. That son of a," I breathed. All this time, Marcus had been positioning himself as the concerned ex, warning me about Dante's danger when he was the one who'd brought the threat to my door. "We need to have a conversation with Marcus," Dante said. And there was steel in his voice, and possibly with Victor Koff as well. "I want to be there," I said. "When you talk to Marcus, I want to hear what he has to say." "Absolutely not," Dante said immediately. "It could be dangerous." "It's my life he's playing with," I countered. "My apartment he violated or had violated. My safety is compromised. I deserve to face him, to hear the truth directly." We stared at each other, wills clashing. Finally, Dante sighed. "Fine, but you don't speak. You don't engage. You observe only, and Maria will be with you the entire time. At the first sign of trouble, you leave. Understood?" "Understood?" Dante nodded to his people. "Set up a meeting tonight. Somewhere we control. Make it clear to Marcus that this is not optional." The meeting was set for PM at a warehouse Dante's family owned in Queens. I spent the day at work trying to focus on my patients while my mind spun with what was coming. By the time Maria picked me up at the hospital, I felt sick with anticipation and dread. The warehouse was exactly what I expected from a mob meeting location. Huge, mostly empty, cold concrete and harsh lighting. Dante was already there with 4 of his people, all armed, all watching the entrance. He dressed for this, all in black. His face hard in a way I hadn't seen before. This was Dante Salvatore, the mob boss, not Dante, the man who cooked pasta and quoted poetry. "You don't have to do this," he said when I arrived. "You can wait in the car and I'll tell you everything after." "I need to do this," I said. He studied my face, then nodded. "Stay with Maria no matter what happens." Marcus arrived 10 minutes later, looking nervous and out of place. He was dressed casually, jeans and a jacket, but I could see sweat on his forehead despite the cool temperature. His eyes widened when he saw me. Emma, what are you doing here? She's here because this involves her, Dante said before I could respond. Have a seat, Marcus. We need to talk. I don't think I should. Two of Dante's men stepped forward, and Marcus quickly sat in the chair they indicated in the center of the open space. Dante circled him slowly. Predatory. Let's talk about your relationship with Victor Koff, Dante said conversationally. Marcus's face went white. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie. We have photographs of you meeting with him. We know about your gambling debts, the money you borrowed, the terms of repayment. What we want to know is what deal you made regarding Emma. I didn't. I would never, Marcus started. Someone broke into Emma's apartment, Dante continued, his voice dropping to something dangerous. Placed listening devices, left a threatening message. That same someone has been targeting my people, gathering intelligence, and you, Marcus, have been meeting with one of my competitors. So I'll ask you again. What deal did you make? Marcus was shaking now. They approached me after they saw us at the gala. After they realized Emma was involved with you, they said if I provided information about her, about your relationship, they'd forgive my debts. I swear I didn't know they were going to break into her apartment. I was supposed to stay in touch with her, find out information, report back on where she was, who she was seeing. You spied on me, I said, unable to stay silent. You pretended to be concerned while feeding information about me to the Russian mob so they could erase your gambling debts. Marcus finally looked at me directly. I'm sorry, Emma. I know that doesn't mean anything now, but I am. I was desperate. They were threatening me, threatening my family. I thought I was just providing harmless information, details about your relationship. Nothing that would actually hurt you. Harmless. I stepped forward, ignoring Maria's attempt to hold me back. They bugged my apartment. Marcus, listened to my private conversations, my phone calls. They violated my space and made me afraid in my own home. Because of information you provided, I didn't know, Marcus repeated, but his voice was weak. That's not enough, Dante said coldly. Your ignorance doesn't absolve your responsibility. You made choices, Marcus. You chose to protect yourself at Emma's expense. You chose to collaborate with people who have hurt innocents to settle their scores. Those choices have consequences. What are you going to do to me? Marcus asked, and I heard real fear in his voice. Dante was silent for a long moment. Then he said, That depends on you. You're going to go back to the Kozlovs. You're going to tell them that Emma and I have ended our relationship, that she's no longer a person of interest. You're going to provide them with false information, lead them away from Emma completely. And in exchange, I won't kill you. Marcus swallowed audibly. And my debts to them. Are your problem to solve? Dante said without sympathy. You made a deal with the devil, Marcus. Now you have to live with it. But Emma is off limits. You ensure that, or I ensure your family is planning your funeral? Those are your options. I'll do it, Marcus said quickly. I'll tell them whatever you want. Just please don't hurt me. Get him out of my sight, Dante said, disgusted. Two of his men hauled Marcus to his feet and escorted him out. As soon as he was gone, Dante turned to me. Are you satisfied? Did you hear what you needed to? He sold me out to cover gambling debts, I said, still processing. He pretended to be worried about me while actively helping people who wanted to hurt me. Men like Marcus only care about themselves, Dante said. It's why they're so easy to manipulate. But he'll do what I told him. He's too afraid not to. Will that be enough? Will the Kozlovs really back off just because Marcus says we're not together anymore? No, Dante admitted. But it buys us time. Time to find another solution that doesn't involve open war. He crossed to me, his hands coming up to frame my face. I'm sorry you had to see that. Had to hear what he did, but I needed you to understand what we're dealing with, who your ex really is. I'm glad I was here, I said. I needed to hear the truth from him. Needed to see it for myself. Come on, Dante said, taking my hand. Let's go home. Home, I realized, no longer meant my little studio apartment in Brooklyn. It meant Dante's penthouse, meant safety and protection, and this dangerous man who'd somehow become the most important person in my life. Over the following weeks, things slowly settled into a new normal. The Kosovs, whether because of Marcus's misinformation or because Dante had made other moves I wasn't privy to, stopped their active surveillance. My apartment was deemed safe enough to visit with escort. Though I spent most nights at Dante's place, I was formally introduced to more of his organization. The people who worked for him depended on him, looked to him for protection and leadership. They were surprisingly normal for the most part. Family men and women, people with regular lives who happened to operate in the gray areas of society. Dante began teaching me about his world, explaining the structures and hierarchies, the codes of conduct, the reasons behind rules that seemed arbitrary from the outside. I learned that his organization provided legitimate services to communities. The law ignored protection for businesses. Police didn't care about fair loans for people banks wouldn't touch. Arbitration for disputes that couldn't be brought to court. Yes, there was violence sometimes. Yes, there were activities that crossed legal lines, but there was also a system of honor, loyalty, mutual protection that I'd never encountered in my supposedly legitimate world. "You're romanticizing it," Sarah said when I tried to explain during one of our rare coffee dates. "Emma, he's a criminal. He hurts people. Just because he's good to you doesn't change that. I'm not romanticizing anything," I defended. "I see him clearly, Sarah, the good and the bad. And yes, he's done things I don't agree with, things I'll never be comfortable with. But he's also honest about who he is. Protective of the people he cares about, loyal to a fault. Can you say the same about Marcus? About any of the supposedly upstanding men I've dated?" Sarah sighed. "I just don't want to see you get hurt. Or worse." "I know," I said softly. "But Sarah, for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be with someone who sees me, all of me, and wants me anyway. That's not something I'm willing to give up, regardless of the complications." 3 months after the night at the gala, Dante took me back to the same museum for another charity event. This time, I was on his arm, officially introduced as his partner, no longer hiding what we were to each other. "Nervous?" Dante asked as we walked into the grand hall. "A little," I admitted. "Last time I was here, I was heartbroken and desperate. Now I'm dating a mob boss and living in a penthouse. It's quite a change. Regrets? None," I said honestly. We made our rounds, Dante introducing me to legitimate businessmen and women, people who knew exactly who he was but chose to work with him anyway because he delivered results. I saw the respect he commanded, the way people deferred to him, not out of fear, but genuine regard. Later, we danced, and it felt like coming full circle. The same music, the same dimmed lights, but everything different because I was different. I'd stopped being the woman who let herself disappear into someone else's vision of who I should be. I'd become someone who made my own choices, accepted consequences, lived authentically even when it was dangerous. "Thank you," Dante murmured as we moved together. "For taking a chance on a stranger, for not running when things got complicated, for seeing past who everyone thinks I am to who I actually am. Thank you for kissing me when I asked," I replied. "For keeping me safe. For being honest even when it would have been easier to lie." "Emma," he said, and there was something in his tone that made me look up at him. "I love you." I felt my breath catch. We'd never said those words before, had been carefully avoiding them, both aware of how intense things had gotten, how fast we'd moved. But hearing him say it now in this place where we'd started felt exactly right. "I love you too," I said, "even though you're complicated and dangerous and possibly crazy." "Definitely crazy," he agreed, pulling me closer. "But crazy about you." We stayed at the gala for another hour, but my mind was elsewhere, focused on those 3 words and everything they meant. When we finally left, Dante didn't take me back to the penthouse. Instead, he directed his driver to a different address in the village. "Where are we going?" I asked. "You'll see." The car stopped in front of a brownstone, beautiful and classic, the kind of place I dreamed about living in but never thought I could afford. Dante led me up the steps, producing a key and opening the door. The interior was gorgeous. Hardwood floors, high ceilings, exposed brick walls. It was furnished, but not lived in yet, the kind of staging that suggested a property being prepared for showing. "Dante, what is this?" "A possibility," he said. "I know you've been staying with me, but I also know you value your independence, your own space. I thought perhaps we could compromise. A place that's ours, that we choose together, designed together. Not my territory or yours, but something we build together. I walked through the space, taking in the large kitchen, the living room with its fireplace, the master bedroom with windows overlooking a small garden. There were 2 additional bedrooms, one that could be an office, one that could be eventually something else. This is too much, I finally said. I can't accept something like this. It's not a gift, Dante said. It's an investment in our future. Emma, I meant what I said. I love you. I want to build a life with you, one that respects both of our needs. You need space that's yours. Independence, the ability to come and go as you please. This gives you that while still keeping you close, keeping you safe. It's perfect, I admitted. But Dante, this must cost. That's not your concern, he interrupted. Gently, let me provide this. Let me show you that being with me means being cared for, protected, supported, and building the life you want. I turned to face him. This dangerous, complicated man who'd become my home on one condition. Name it. I contribute. Maybe not financially, maybe not at first. But this place, if we do this, it's not just you taking care of me. It's us building something. Together. I paint these walls. I choose this furniture. I make this feel like home. Equal partnership. Equal partnership, Dante agreed, pulling me into his arms. In this and everything else, we spent the next hour walking through the brownstone, imagining how it could be, where we'd put my painting corner, where Dante's books would go, how we'd use the garden, making plans, building a future, choosing each other despite all the reasons we probably shouldn't. When we finally left, heading back to the penthouse to collect my things, to start the actual process of moving into our own space, I felt a contentment I'd never experienced. Yes, there were risks. Yes, Dante's world was dangerous. Yes, being with him meant constant vigilance, security measures, complications I'd never imagined. But it also meant being seen, valued, loved without conditions. It meant partnership with someone who respected my strength while offering protection. It meant building something real with someone who'd been honest from the first moment about exactly who and what he was. A year after that first kiss, Dante proposed, not at a fancy restaurant or a romantic getaway, but at home in the brownstone we'd made ours. I was painting in my corner, working on a piece inspired by the night we met. All dark blues and gold highlights and shadows. He came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist, watched the canvas take shape. "Marry me," he said quietly. I turned in his arms, paintbrush still in hand, probably getting paint on his expensive shirt. "What? Marry me, Emma. Make this official. Let me give you my name, my protection, everything I have. Build this life with me permanently." "Your world isn't exactly conducive to traditional marriage," I pointed out. "And I'm not asking for traditional," Dante replied. "I'm asking for you. For the woman who asked a stranger to kiss her, who didn't run when things got complicated, who sees past my reputation to the man beneath. The woman who paints when she can't sleep and cries over her patience and challenges me when I'm wrong and loves me anyway. You're sure?" I asked. "Because once we do this, there's no easy way out. I'll be connected to your world completely, permanently. Whatever consequences that brings, I'm sure," he said. "The question is, are you?" I thought about my life before Dante. The poor, careful choices, the appropriate relationships, the path laid out that would have led to comfortable mediocrity. Then I thought about my life now. Complicated, dangerous, full of risks and rewards in equal measure, living in a brownstone with a man I loved who loved me back completely and without reservation. "Yes," I said. "Yes, I'll marry you." The ring he produced was perfect. Not ostentatious, not overly large. An emerald, my birthstone, surrounded by smaller diamonds, beautiful and meaningful and exactly right. We married 3 months later. Small ceremony, just close friends and family. Sarah was my maid of honor. Still wary of Dante, but supportive of my happiness. Dante's sister, Lucia, flew in from Sicily, welcoming me with warmth and only a little concern about her brother's choice of bride. The ceremony itself was traditional, despite everything else being anything but. We exchanged vows in a small church, promising loyalty, honesty, partnership. The reception was held at one of Dante's restaurants, filled with food and wine and people from both our worlds, mingling with varying degrees of comfort. On our wedding night, Dante took me back to the brownstone, carrying me over the threshold with old-world charm that made me laugh. "You know I can walk, right?" "Tradition," he said seriously. My mother would be disappointed if I didn't observe the important traditions. We sat in the garden behind our home, sharing wine and watching stars appear in the New York sky. Rare and precious in a city of too much light. "Any regrets?" Dante asked. "None," I said, and meant it. "You?" "Only that I didn't see you first that night," he replied. "That I didn't approach you before you had to come find me." I think it happened exactly the way it was supposed to. I said I needed to be the one to take the risk, to be brave enough to ask for what I wanted. If you'd approached me, I probably would have said no. Too scared, too careful. And now I'm married to a man who makes me brave, I said, who makes me believe that taking risks, being bold, choosing danger over safety sometimes leads to exactly where you're supposed to be. "I love you, Mrs. Salvatore." "I love you too," I said. My dangerous, complicated, perfect husband. We sat in comfortable silence, hands linked, building plans for the future. Children someday. Maybe definitely continuing my nursing career, which Dante supported completely. Slowly transitioning more of his businesses toward legitimate operations, reducing the risk, building something sustainable for the next generation. It wouldn't be easy. There would be challenges, threats, moments when I questioned everything. But there would also be love, partnership, the profound satisfaction of building something real with someone who saw me, all of me, and chose me anyway. Sometimes the most important moments in your life happen when you're at your lowest, when you're heartbroken and desperate and bold enough to ask a stranger for help. When you take a risk that doesn't make sense, that everyone warns you against, that could lead to disaster or to exactly where you're supposed to be. That night at the gala, I asked a stranger to kiss me. I had no idea that stranger would become my husband, my partner, my home. I had no idea that taking one desperate risk would lead to a life more complicated and more beautiful than anything I'd imagined. But that's how the best stories begin, isn't it? With a moment of courage, a leap of faith, a choice to be bold even when you're terrified. "Kiss me." My ex is staring. I'd said to a stranger, unaware I was talking to the man who would become my future. He'd kissed me, and in doing so had given me back myself, the woman I was meant to be. Brave and honest and unafraid to love dangerously. And I'd do it all again. Every complicated moment, every dangerous choice, every terrifying risk. Because some strangers are meant to become family. Some dangers are worth embracing. And some kisses change.